Hello students, today in this lecture we are going to discuss about the principle of multiplier. In any society, economic growth can take place only when the economic activities grow, that is, an increase in demand leads to increase in production. Economists have brought about various theories regarding this particular phenomenon of economic growth. One of the prominent theories related to this is multiplier theory or multiplier effect. The effect of change in investment upon consumption expenditure and consequent generation of income in a short period is examined by James Keynes in the theory of multiplier. Keynes was of the opinion that investment is a dependent function of consumption. Unless and until there is an appropriate and balanced relationship between consumption function, propensity to consume and quantum of investment, the process of economic growth cannot take place in a desired manner. Keynes has used the term investment multiplier, wherein he analyzed the impact of variation in income on the behavior of consumption and marginal propensity to consume. The theory of multiplier is a basic and integral part of the general theory of employment. This theory establishes a precise relationship between aggregate expenditure and income and the rate of investment at a given level of marginal propensity to consume. It also tells us that when there is an increase in aggregate investment, that is increment, income will also increase by the amount which is k times, wherein k is constant, the increment of investment, where k is constant and is the investment multiplier. Let us now understand the concept of multiplier. The concept of multiplier refers to the effect of changes in investment outlays on aggregate income through induced consumption expenditure. The multiplier shows the relationship between initial increase in the investment and the resultant increase in total income. Multiplier is a numerical coefficient which shows the increase in income as a result of increase in investment. For example, if investment increases by 1 crore of rupees and the total income, that is national income, increases by 4 crores, then the multiplier is 4. Therefore, the multiplier can be defined as the ratio of change in income to the change in investment. So, change in income to change in investment. Mathematically, this can be stated as k is equal to y divided by I. Here, k is the investment multiplier, y is change in income, I is the change in investment. The main force behind the multiplier is the consumption function. That is, with increase in investment outlay, income increases. With increase in income, consumption also increases. Consumption expenditure is an additional income to the factors of production which are used for production of goods and services. Therefore, there is increase in income because of induced consumption. But the fact is that entire increase in income is not used for consumption. Keynes has made the assumption that an increase or decrease in income will also affect the consumption, that is increase or decrease, but not in the same proportion. Therefore, marginal propensity to consume is always less than 1. The concept of marginal propensity to consume is the core of the multiplier principle. This determines the value of the multiplier. The greater the MPC, the greater is the value of multiplier and vice versa. Thus, it can be said that K is equal to 1 minus MPC. Here K is the multiplier coefficient. MPC is marginal propensity to consume. That is, marginal propensity to consume is C upon Y. Hence, 1 minus MPC is MPS. We can say, so K is equal to 1 upon MPS. Here MPS stands for marginal propensity to save. Let us now understand the definition of the term multiplier. According to Samuelson, the number by which the change in investment must be multiplied in order to present us with the resulting change in income is termed as multiplier. A multiplier is a factor of proportionality that measures how much an endogenous variable changes in response to change in some exogenous variable. Let us now see what are the different types of multiplier. The first one is the investment multiplier. It is defined as the ratio of change in total income to a given change in aggregate investment spending. For example, if total income has increased by 100 crores and the total investment by 50 crores, then the investment multiplier is 2. The second type of multiplier is period multiplier. The aggregate income changes after a certain period. An initial investment takes time to make its impact on the economy. This often is seen when we compare investment levels in two different periods. If the initial investment is 20 crores, then after say a period of 5 years, it becomes 50 crores. This is mainly because of resultant changes brought in the economy by initial investment. It takes time for investment to grow. Further, the rate of returns and the conditions of economy as well as response of market also influences the growth of investment. Favorable market conditions improve the response rate. The third type is balanced budget multiplier. With the increase in government expenditure, national income also increases. If taxes and government income falls, then national income automatically reduces. Conceptually speaking, a balanced budget has no multiplier effect, but in reality, it has a multiplier effect on national income. This is because there are many invisible and interactive elements that influence the growth rate and process of economic development. The fourth is the dynamic multiplier. The volume of multiplier will be affected by time lags, as a result of which income will increase slowly. The rate of increment in investment is not directly proportional to the time period. Economic cycles, trade conditions and market response influence the manner in which the multiplier effect will be realized by the economy. In the period of prosperity, the multiplier effect is positive and rapidly realized, whereas in depressionary situation, the multiplier effect becomes slow and sluggish. However, there is continuous change in the investment income level because of the dynamism of the economy. Fifth, type of multiplier is foreign trade multiplier. It is defined as ratio of final increase in national income due to an initial increase in exports over imports. This increase also has a positive impact on multiplier. Next type is employment multiplier. During the period of depression, the government undertakes public investment activities, as a result of which the employment should shoot up in many times more than the primary employment. This change in employment level is due to multiplier effect. Students, a primary question that should come to our mind should be, what are the applications of multiplier concept? Multiplier plays a very important role in macroeconomic planning and projections, and even in assessing the effects as a result of changes made by the government and in the foreign exchange policy. For example, if a country devalues its currency, the rate of exchange varies significantly. It also has its effect on the inflow and outflow of foreign exchange from one country to another. The balance of trade and balance of payment position also influences, and thus the general investment level in the country, because of change in the foreign direct investment, also is influenced significantly. The multiplier concept is important in order to determine the investment needed for a particular projected growth in the national income. Let us study the assumptions. The multiplier theory is based on certain assumptions. First, there should not be change in the marginal propensity to consume. Second, the monetary and fiscal policy remains constant, and therefore, the propensity to consume is not affected. It is assumed that there exists excess capacity in the economic system. That is, the economy operates at less than full employment level. It is assumed that there is a closed system, that is, there is no foreign trade activity. The next, the theory assumes a static economic model, that is, there exist no dynamic changes in the economy. The state of technology, capital formation, labor supply and other output variables are assumed to be constant. It is also assumed that there exists no time lag between receipt of income and expenditure. Now, let us move to leakages in the multiplier. There are few leakages in the multiplier system as developed by Keynes. These are explained as, first, Keynes has assumed that marginal propensity to consume should remain constant. Marginal propensity to save will also be constant. Hence, the changes for leakages are fully ruled out. But in a dynamic economy, marginal propensity to save or marginal propensity to consume is never constant. In reality, nothing is stable about the value of multiplier and its effects. Second, if people use a part of their income to pay off bank debts, then instead of spending for consumption, that part of income disappears from income streams. This influences the general volume of consumption. Unless and until there is an increment in the consumption level, the response of multiplier will not be favorable. Third, if a part of the income is used for buying old stocks and shares, then consumption will fall, affecting the multiplier adversely. When people invest for long term, their surplus is not diverted towards consumption. The savings are channelized with an exception of higher rate of return, and thus consumption is adversely affected. If people hold the cash balance in the form of inactive bank deposits or non-liquid assets or by other means, then this will cause leakage in the system and affect the multiplier adversely. When people neither invest nor consume, then liquidity feature of currency automatically vanishes. Money becomes a stale and a static commodity which influences the development of economic activities. Both investment and employment levels are adversely affected when money remains static. Price inflation is another leakage, as increased money spending on consumption may fail to increase the real consumption. In a situation of price inflation, the real value of multiplier goes down. The relation between the purchasing power of the consumers and the real income is not properly maintained. Price inflation reduces the purchasing power, affecting the consumption level adversely. One leakage is from excessive imports when imports exceed exports. This results in net outflow of funds to foreign countries. Whenever a country is in the developing phase or relies for various goods and commodities on other countries, it has to import these commodities by paying foreign exchange. This results in adverse balance of payment. There is a heavy outflow of funds which causes deficits and results in a situation where surplus available for investment is minimized, which in turn reduces the multiplier. Next, when full employment level has been attained, an increase in investment goes to increase the price level instead of increasing consumption. When the economy reaches the peak of its development, naturally the growth process becomes steady and new investments are not encouraged. This reduces the mobility of funds as well as efficiency of capital. This affects the multiplier adversely. When heavy taxes are imposed, it also affects the marginal propensity to consume and multiplier effect. When a particular government adopts a policy of heavy taxation, it adversely affects the general income level and savings amount. As the amount of surplus with the people is reduced, it has adverse effect of investment cycle, causing a negative impact on the multiplier. Let us now understand the shortcomings of the concept of multiplier. First, it is a timeless phenomenon. The theory of multiplier assumes that there is a steady relationship between income, consumption and investment. Here, Keynes has treated the multiplier as timeless phenomenon, but in reality there exists time gap between the actual receipt of income and consumption expenditure. Second, it is a static phenomenon. According to Keynes, multiplier is a static phenomenon, that is, it does not respond to changing processes of the dynamic world. Therefore, multiplier will be obtained only under static conditions. Third, it has no empirical verification. Keynes does not present any empirical evidence for the theory of multiplier. As Professor Harberler states, Keynes offers no adequate proof or evidence, but offers only a number and rather disconnected observations. Next, it gives excessive emphasis on consumption function. This is the biggest drawback of the theory, that is, overemphasis on consumption. It would have been more realistic to talk about marginal propensity to spend than marginal propensity to consume, and then put emphasis on the effects of increase in investment not only on consumption, but also on total private investment and government spending. it has neglected derived demand phenomenon of investment in capital goods sector. The theory of multiplier only explains the effect of induced consumption on income. It fails to throw light on the after effects of induced investment on consumption. It also fails to throw light on the relationship between demand for capital and consumption goods. Next, it is an imaginary concept. According to Professor Hazlitt, there can never be any precise, predeterminable or mechanical relationship between investment and income, and that the multiplier is in fact a worthless concept. It is a myth and not a reality. Let us now evaluate the concept of multiplier. The multiplier theory has been very useful in policy formulation of governments. It tells about the consequences of each level of investment on employment, saving and economic growth. But it suffers from certain limitations. It assumes that a stable marginal propensity to consume exists, which is not possible especially in the cyclical short period. Second, it neglects the role of changes in the induced investment which are brought about through changes in consumption and concentrates only on the effect of increase in autonomous investment on induced consumption. Overall, the theory along with acceleration principle has helped in analytical explanation of business cycle. Let us now study applicability of multiplier concept in less developed countries. The multiplier concept states that higher the marginal propensity to consume, higher shall be the rate of the multiplier. It is true that even when the income is lower, the marginal propensity to consume is higher. The report of the World Development Bank states that low income countries have comparatively low savings and income compared with the developed countries. The low rate of savings in underdeveloped countries means higher marginal propensity to consume. This means that the multiplier is higher in less developed countries than in developed countries. Thus, a given amount of autonomous investment would result in higher employment and output in less developed countries than developed countries. The rate of growth as a result of additional investment will be higher in less developed countries than developed countries. But this does not hold true as the both multiplier and growth rate is lower in less developed countries than developed countries. Therefore, there exists a paradoxical situation which is termed as a multiplier paradox. Therefore, it is said that Keynesian multiplier does not apply to less developed countries. This is because the assumptions and conditions of multiplier do not hold true for less developed countries. Dr. V.K.R.V. Rao has examined the applicability of Keynesian theory of multiplier in case of India in the early 1950s. He pointed out that assumption of multiplier does not hold true for less developed countries. He further pointed out that the conditions which are prevalent in less developed countries, the concept of multiplier does not work. These conditions are a predominant agricultural sector, a vast disguised unemployment, low level of capital investment, small proportion of wage employment to the total employment, a vast non-monetized sector, a vast sector producing for self-consumption, etc. The theory of multiplier has got limitations in developed countries as pointed out earlier. For example, take the case of US during the 90s. The saving rate was about 20%. the value of multiplier theoretically should have been 5, but in reality it was found to be only 1.4. It is found out that the multiplier theory works more effectively and vigorously in developed countries in early stages of recovery from depression. This is because of the excess capacity during the depression period than during the period of boom. To conclude, the concept of multiplier in reality has provided great insight to understand the phenomenon of saving and investment in the economy. Most of the economies have advocated the theory of multiplier effect because in their view multiplier has many practical applications. It also helps us to suggest the measures to overcome the evils of trade cycle and design a rational public investment policy. Multiplier effect is a concept that explains in quantitative terms the relationship between income, consumption, savings and investment. Further, it also throws light on how different economic phenomenon influence the policies of government at macro level. Though there are certain limitations to the concept of multiplier. However, certain unique features and application of this concept in practice are definitely very useful for the economic planners and policy makers. Thank you very much.